حدث في الماضي ونحن نتطلع نحو المستقبل. هذا هو التحدي الكبير الذي ستجيب عليه السنوات القادمة. فليتفضل. شكرا أستاذ مرتاد.
Thank you very much. أنا بشكر جدا المجلس القومي على أساس إنه ادونا فرصة نحضر الميتنج ده and they extended the invitation to us. طبعا I will not address a lot of issues here because when I was told I had an impression that we'll have cultural events and so on. لكن طبعا the titles goes into the main problems that we have in our country, nation building. I started by saying that I greet you all in the name of the SPM, right? And I thank the organizers and also I thought actually the Sudan embassy also was behind it, but anyway. So and I thank them also for extending the invitation. And I welcome all our artists because I thought obviously there are people who already presented, especially the point that I had from Al-Akhtiyani. It was a very nice poem on Umdurman, and that actually reminded me a lot of my childhood because I used to go to Umdurman a lot when I was a young man, young boy. So I welcome all our artists and musicians who have this great opportunity to reflect our cultural heritage to the world at large. You are our ambassadors, the musician and the artists, in a way. You are showing the world today the diversity in our country because our country is diverse. And we've talked on that, and there has been a lot of debate on Al-Hawiyya Sudaniyya, the Sudanese identity, and obviously we have done a lot of presentation on that. Right, so this is also a great chance to educate the young people here. This cultural event will educate the young Sudanese people who have grown up in this country, not exposed to our culture. So a lot of young people who will attend this cultural event will get a chance actually to be educated on our culture in terms of the poetry, and obviously my understanding is that the cultural event will show our diversity, it will reflect our great heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, Sudan has over 300 ethnic groups, so we have a lot of different ethnic groups in Sudan, over 300, yeah? We in the SPLM fought the war to safeguard the diversity of the Sudanese state, and we believe today that Sudan is changing and is recognizing the rights of the other ethnic groups who were never given a prominent international agenda, right? And Professor has talked a lot about the definition of the cultural issues in Sudan, that the Sudanese state had. There was a time when people had only one outlook, one angle, that the Sudanese state is represented by only one group, but obviously we are moving away from there because, as Professor had also mentioned in his presentation, it's important to recognize the other ethnic groups in Sudan. So you've said that that outlook from one angle has created a lot of problems in Sudan, and we in the SPLM fought this war in order to emphasize the fact that Sudan is a multicultural state, and as long as we would not recognize that, the stability of Sudan as a state or the nation building will never happen. The nation building will only happen if we embrace all the different cultures in Sudan, and if we stop this notion that we only have one outlook to our cultural identities in Sudan. Sudan has recently been defined as an oil-rich country, right? And a lot of writers and journalists have been writing on Sudan, that Sudan has oil, Sudan is rich in terms of oil resources, is rich in terms of natural resources. But we believe that there is one aspect, the third element that has been neglected. And that is Sudan is rich in its cultural diversities and its ethnic groups, and we have to celebrate that richness. So if you have a state that has over 300 identities, we have to come to terms with it. We have to face reality that if we don't create a situation where everybody is celebrating other people's cultures, then that state will collapse, and the demise of the state will not. And Sudan has been at war with itself for the last nearly 50 years. Yeah, when I was born, the war has already started by then. So I'm a generation who was born after the First War, and then the SPLM already started the Second War in Sudan. And as long as we don't, because it goes all back into the central issue of identities. And I'm very happy that in the presentation of President of Majlis Al-Qawmi Sudani, he actually said إنه الثقافة السودانية الثري التنوع الثقافي الثري وأنا لما سمعت ده أنا فرحت جدا because نحن لازم نشوف إنه التنوع عندنا is richness. It shouldn't create problems. If we look at countries like Britain, nearly 1% or 2% of the population in Britain are ethnic minorities. But Britain as a nation now is embracing multiculturalism, is embracing the fact that there are different groups who are living in Britain. And those groups have been given rights because you need to safeguard the nation and to make sure that everyone feels is part and parcel of that nation. So I think it's the right time because obviously we have signed the CPA and we are happy with the CPA, and we are working towards that we should build a nation that recognizes everybody. And obviously in Sudan, if you look at the identity, the definition of identity, long time ago it has 4 things that people can agree on. If you define yourself as an African, your neighbors also have to agree that you are an African. And also, the wider world has to agree. In Sudan, I think the wider world has not agreed yet for it is an Arab state. We also know in Sudan, when you go beyond Sudan, some of our neighbors doubt whether we are really Arabs or not, isn't it? So maybe it is high time for us to try and look into ourselves and celebrate our rich cultures we have. We were the originators of the pharaonic culture. The Nubians did a lot of contribution to the world cultures. So we have to celebrate that because the Nubian civilization that was in Sudan contributed a lot to the richness of the world cultures. So the idea is it's important that for us to recognize and celebrate this diversity. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.